Dear colleagues, first of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this conference for an opportunity to be a part of this event. Let me introduce myself. My name is Dina Nagimullina. I'm a student of the 6th year of the Faculty of General Medicine. And the topic of my presentation is the legacy of Petr Andreevich Minakov in forensic medicine. Petr Andreevich Minakov, Russian and Soviet forensic doctor, doctor of medicine, professor. For his 40-year scientific activity in the field of forensic medicine, he had a great influence on the development of this science. Petr Andreevich was born on November 25, 1865, in the village of Derugina, Dmitrievsky district, in a family of peasants. His father died early, and the upbringing of children fell on the shoulders of his mother, who, despite poverty, tried to give her children an education. After graduating from the Kursk gymnasium in 1886, Petr Andreevich entered the medical faculty of Moscow University. The first scientific success came to Petr Andreevich in his student years, when he prepared two works. The first, on the question of pathanatomical changes in poisoning, appeared in the Medical Review in 1892. The next, Elephantiasis, 1893, was an extensive epidemiological study of the prevalence of elephantiasis. This work, awarded a gold medal, was subsequently republished as a monograph. There is a surprising fact that at that distant time, tropical elephantiasis did not pose any epidemiological danger for the inhabitants of Russian Empire. The vast majority of Russians led a sedentary life. There were no technical possibilities for active migration of the population or travel over significant distances. Petr Andreevich outlined the problem that arose a century later with the advent of active population mobility against the backdrop of powerful technological progress. Already a year after the start of practical activities, Petr Andreevich began his scientific activity in the study of hair in the aspect of forensic practice. In 1892, in the Medical Review, his work The Forensic Medical Solution to the Question, Was the hair pulled out or fallen out by itself, was published. Subsequently, this topic was covered in detail in his 4th chapter of his doctoral dissertation, where Petr Andreevich presented not only morphological science and mechanism of damage, but also provided the material with a description of forensic medical research from his own practice. In 1894, Minakov presented his doctoral dissertation on hair in a forensic medical relation. It is still reprinted in its original form and still is in demand. The dissertation is a deep analysis and generalization of the available data on hair as material evidence of biological origin. Analysis of this transverse size and shape of the cuts of the hair makes it possible to reliably determine the initial position of the human body and, in some cases, the age of the owner. In the same work, the author reveals the way of identifying the tools with which the hair could be cut off. Of particular interest is the final part of this dissertation, which indicates the possibility of arsenic accumulation in the hair. As is known, this assumption by Petr Andreevich Minakov received brilliant confirmation after the advent of spectrophotometry. Modern technologies make it possible to determine almost the entire spectrum of microelements in the hair. In 1895, he was sent abroad to study forensic medicine and improve his skills. Professional communication with famous professors of Europe enriched his scientific knowledge of the sciences and culminated in the writing of the work on changes in hair under the influence of high temperature, 1896. It describes in detail the macro and microscopic changes in the hair when shot from various distances. The study of hair in forensic and anthropological terms led Petr Andreevich to the study of dentition, especially delayed tooth development. So, in his article Abnormal Hairiness, he said that dental anomalies were observed in all cases in hairy people where only attention was paid to the teeth. Such a ratio between anomalies of teeth and hair developing from the ectodermal layer, Minakov explained the delay in the development of two formations of the same origin. So from the works of Petr Andreevich Minakov and his student Vilga, began the development of forensic dentistry. In 1902, Petr Andreevich Minakov presented a report on subendocardial ecchymosis in death from bleeding at the 8th Pirogov Congress. The primacy of describing hemorrhages in the left ventricle of the heart, a death from acute blood loss, belonged to Petr Andreevich, in connection with which this phenomenon was called Minakov spots. Minakov spots are small, usually multiple, streaked, dark red hemorrhages under the endocardium of the left ventricle of the heart, the so-called subendocardial ecchymosis. It's common for blood loss with a long terminal period. Petr Andreevich Minakov explained the formation with the development of negative pressure in the cavity of the left ventricle during its expansion with rapid blood loss. In 1924, the work Conservation, Embalming, and Mummification of Corpses was published. In it, the author summarizes personal experience and proposes his own way of preserving body after death. It should be noted that mummified preparation made by Petr Andreevich Minakov were of very high quality. They retained their original similarity, did not rot or become moldy over time, did not require additional preservation, and were easily stored under normal conditions at room temperature. One of those preparations has been preserved in its original form to this day in the Museum of Forensic Medicine of the First Moscow State Medical University. We are talking about Minakov's coachman, who had no relatives and left a corresponding will. He is presented on a photo. In conclusion, I would like to say, Petr Andreevich lived and worked at the turn of the century, in one of the most dramatic periods in our history. During the existence of the Russian Empire, from the complete poverty of childhood, he rose to the position of a science with a European name, survived a storm of revolutions and repressions from the authorities, and under the Soviet regime, again took a worthy place in science and medicine. There are no streets of Minakov, there are no monuments of him, but there is and will always be a good memory of people about him. Thank you for your attention.